Amita pendwa ya vintu ifisume vyoto bula kwibukisha Tana depochimo Wimbo wa temenu wa katongi Abazunga batita katongi Nagula kwibukisha kateka Kaibuku muna kapona Neseko siove pameso Yangwa umebaya Iyaba ume Iyaba ume
Kateka wabantu Twakulira lelo twakulira Shika kukonke milimo shove Deti kume mo pula dolole avale lilo wingi
Ise kwa wingi mwakwete Ise so wingi mwakwete Mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
Katusi muchi wakege Wali bomba kale Lomba mwatu jatuleli lake Ukula bebyo wachito buingi Ibisebo wapangiri obuingi Ukuchinjo lusako kumoneko busaka Mama, utituwa basiyani Chakwa katuse
Chalo chimo sa tundu sometimes we forget the rich words that form our national anthem. If we only just could be patriotic and remember the words, the rich words that form who we are as a country, who we are together, united in diversity. Today, we have a great opportunity where we are hosting a renowned Lusaka lawyer, constitutional lawyer, public commentator on many public issues. He's a civil society leader, Mr. John Sangwa, State Council. I was inspired to play the national anthem, the Nyanja one. I think I'll be playing the national anthem from various languages just for us to remember who we are as a people. Let me welcome Mr. Sangwa. Mr. Sangwa, good day and welcome to today's broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Sangwa, the country knows you. One who comments on public issues, one who takes matters to court, one who seeks justice. But you wrote a fundamental letter yesterday, and we want to understand the purpose of that letter, your call on citizen, and probably to answer to that call where people have been urging you to participate in the political process of our country. You've participated very well in the civic space, but it's like now they are calling you to politics. They are calling you to the presidency. And then you have responded with this letter. What motivated this letter? And I'll ask you to read it after you've answered that.
Yeah, I mean, several factors prompted me to put together my thoughts in writing and be able to share them with the citizens. And one of the reasons, I know you get fed up of hearing this, but I have taken oath to uphold the Constitution. Now, you don't uphold the Constitution selectively. You take it as it is and you embrace all the obligations that are contained in the Constitution. So one of the obligations in the Constitution, which I think many people may not know, is that Article 43 of the Constitution imposes a duty on every citizen to serve the country. So it's not a choice. It's not an option. Every citizen has an obligation to be of service to the country. Now, you just have to make a decision on your own as to in what area, in what capacity, at what level you think you can be of service to the country. Over the last 35 years, I've been of service to this, using my training as a lawyer, and I've tried as much as possible to try and improve the observance of the Constitution in the country. Now, that is a different kind of service because I get to choose what cases to take up and what cases not to take up. And that is within my prerogative to be able to choose. And there are a number of factors that go into making that decision. It could be I have to manage that obligation with other pressing obligations and so forth. That I've really done for the last 35 years. And I don't have to convince anybody on that because I think the record speaks for itself. Now, when people call you to say, we want you to assume an elective office, the dynamics there are totally different. Okay, because now it's not just your decision alone. There are many factors that you have to take into account in arriving at that decision. I've received calls from Zambians within and outside who have told me, who have asked me to offer myself and be of service to this country in an elective office. Now, obviously, I took time
Indeed, Mr. Sangwa. Indeed,
Yes.
we do not want to misunderstand. We don't want to misinterpret, and we want to understand very thoroughly. To our dear viewers, if you're joining us, we are hosting renowned lawyer, constitutional lawyer, John Sangwa, State Counsel. Please share this broadcast. He's going to make very fundamental announcement on this broadcast. And I'll call for your patience because I want to invite him in the next 5, 7, 10 minutes to read that fundamental letter that he released yesterday. Mr. Sangwa, I hope you are ready. And let's hear you. What are you communicating? Read your letter.
Yes, I think let me stick to the text, and this is what I start by saying, fellow Zambians, in recent months, many in and outside Zambia have urged me to enter politics and consider offering myself for public office. I'm humbled by this confidence. But let me be clear, no single individual can deliver Zambia from its current challenges. Our future will not be secured by one person's sacrifice alone, but by the collective will of all citizens acting together under the Constitution. Leadership matters, but it succeeds only when it is matched by the people's readiness to play their part. The Constitution in Article 43 makes it plain that every citizen must be patriotic, promote national development, pay taxes, protect public property, uphold the Constitution, maintain law and order, and foster unity. These are not my personal demands. They are our shared constitutional duties. Service, therefore, is not the responsibility of leaders alone. It belongs to all of us. My own role and that role of any leader is meaningful only if the people themselves are prepared to shoulder these duties. That is why I put forward 10 questions, not as a politician chasing power, but as a fellow citizen inviting reflection on the path to renewal. These 10 points are not a manifesto of promises. They are a mirror held to all of us. Their purpose is to test whether we as a people are ready to accept our constitutional responsibilities and the hard choices required for national renewal. Leadership alone cannot transform Zambia. Only the collective will of disciplined, united, and responsible citizens can. Our answers to these questions will determine whether our future is one of repeated failure or lasting progress. One of the first, question number one, that is understanding the crisis. Are we willing to understand, accept, and face the real scale and complexity of our national crisis? Not just poverty and high prices, but the deeper cancers of corruption, wastage, weak institutions, and a population growing faster than schools, hospitals, jobs, and land can keep pace with. Until we face these realities, honestly, solutions will remain superficial. Number two, are we prepared to make hard sacrifices required for national renewal, to reject corruption in all its forms, to end the culture of wastage, and to embrace responsibilities, not only in leadership, but also in family and community life? Strong families, responsible communities, and disciplined leadership are the foundation of a strong nation. Three, are we ready to rise above tribe, region, and party and stand together as one people, united by the higher goal of building a nation that works for all? For as long as we remain divided, we weaken our own strength, waste resources on rivalry, and open the door for corruption and poor leadership to flourish. Unity is not just an aspiration. It is the foundation of justice, stability, and lasting national progress. Number four, are we willing to demand and accept the truth, even when it is painful, rather than settle for comforting lies and political slogans? We must be willing to face hard truth about our economy, our governance, and our own conduct, because comforting lies have already cost us too much. Number 5, are we willing to hold ourselves as well as our leaders accountable for the state of the nation? Accountability must extend from how leaders manage public resources and institutions to how each citizen fulfills their duties under the Constitution. Number 6, are we willing to elect men and women of integrity and competence rather than those who trade in tribe, populism, or money to gain power? True democracy is not about the loudest voices, but about leaders who will put aside their own interest and strengthen all our institutions, from the judiciary, parliament, and electoral commission to law enforcement, the civil service, and local government, so that the rule of law is upheld, public resources are protected, and every citizen can trust the system that governs them. Number 7, are we willing to know, defend, and live by our Constitution, recognizing it as the foundation upon which strong institutions stand? For it is only through respect of the Constitution and of law that leaders can be held accountable, institutions can function independently, and the promise of justice and equality can be made real for every Zambian. Number 8, are we willing to respect the law equally so that no person is above it and no citizen is beneath its protection? The rule of law means nothing if it serves only the powerful. It must shield the weak, restrain the strong, and apply with the same force to all, whether rich or poor, leader or citizen, rural or urban. Only then can justice be more than a slogan. It becomes a lived reality for every Zambian. Number 9, are we willing to live within our means as a country, to reject reckless debt, pay taxes faithfully, and manage our resources with the same discipline that we demand in law and governance? Just as no leader should be above the law, no government should be above the limits of what the nation should be above the limits of what the nation can afford. Zambia cannot prosper by exporting raw copper and importing finished goods. We must add value here at home, build industries, create jobs for our people. Economic self-discipline is the financial face of rule of law, and it is what turns sovereignty into prosperity. Number 10, and about our own so that it belongs fully to Zambia, not to foreign donors. Just as we must discipline our economy, we must also discipline our politics. A democracy paid for by outsiders tend to serve their interests, not ours. A democracy bought by money lenders and power brokers will never be free. But if we fund it ourselves through taxes and our institutions and our civic commitment, then it will reflect our values, protect our sovereignty, and secure our children's future. Unless these questions can be answered in the affirmative, Zambia cannot escape its present struggles. No leader, however sincere, can succeed without the people's willingness to change. But if the answer is yes, if we are ready to choose leaders who put aside self-interest to strengthen our institutions, to uphold the Constitution, to respect the law equally, to live within our means, and to fund our own democracy, then Zambia will stand firm on foundations of discipline, sovereignty, and unity. That future will not be built by one person alone, but by all of us acting together, each fulfilling our constitutional duty and demanding the same of those who lead us. I am to serve, but only if the people of Zambia are ready to walk this path with me. Renewal cannot come from my sacrifice alone, but from our collective decision to change course together. By renewal, I mean Zambia, where corruption is rejected, institutions are strong, and the rule of law is respected, where families and communities take responsibilities. Citizens live responsibly within their means, and the Constitution is not just words on a paper, but living foundation of our daily life. For us, as one people, to face reality honestly and begin the work of national renewal.
Fundamental letter. And now the difference with many aspirations and announcement about political ambition or need to rule is you are talking of that you're ready to serve, but you are enjoining citizens. You want citizens to work with you. And when I look at the 10 points or 10 questions that you've raised, you paint a picture of literally a broken country that needs to begin afresh, and that you cannot start it alone. The citizens have to join you. For example, they have to pay taxes, they have to be responsible. Isn't that a tall order for citizens? Citizens are looking for a leader, but you are enjoining them to the cause. Explain that rationale.
Yeah, it's very simple to understand, Ambassador. We've been on this path for 60 years, right? I mean, it should be a pipe dream to continue to talk about the same thing and hoping that the outcome will be different. Okay? Now, I didn't just put together these thoughts overnight. It took me months. Okay? The reason is I took time to understand why are we still where we are 60 years after independence. Okay? Now, when you are being called or invited to do something, you first of all need to do some assessment. Okay? The assumption is that when you are being called, you're expected to do something different. Now, you now need to understand the problem first before you can determine whether you are ready for the job or not. Once you understand the problem, then it becomes easier to prescribe the solution. Okay? Now, without that kind of analysis, you can't just walk in there blindly. And that is how most people end up making fake promises and then promises which they know very well they'll not be able to meet. Now, I'm not there to tell people lies or to promise them the impossibles. I've looked at these issues, and I believe we need to address these 10 points. And I'm quite interested. I'm looking forward to somebody else who can tell me that we can still bring about renewal in this country without. I'm interested to hear what other people's thoughts are on this particular issue. And what I'm saying is that without addressing these issues, we'll just be going round in circles. The reason I'm challenging citizens is very simple. At a personal level, I can choose to mess up my life. It's my choice. Similarly, as a country, we can choose to mess up our country. We can equally refuse to mess up our country and found some serious economic development. That is a choice of the people. We have had 60 years themselves to speak is there to support this vision. We have a choice. And the people we can path, we need to lie to ourselves that we can actually transform this without having to address these difficult questions.
Yeah, Council,
so we have a choice.
Let me just delay you. I don't know what's happened to your internet. You have very good internet, but I wonder why it's beginning to buffer. My technical team, just look at that quickly. We have very good internet from both ends. We should not have this at all. Let me just briefly just cancel. Let me see. I'll disrupt you a bit.
bayebi amitapendwa ya vintu ifisume vyuta bula kwibukisha kana depotimo lwimbo watemenwa katongi abazunga batita katongi nakula kwibukisha kateka kaibukubuna kapona neseko syove pamenso yangwama umebaya iyaba baume iyaba baume
kateka wabantu twakulira lelo twakulira shikakukonke milimo shove
eti kume mokulo ndolo la vale lilo wingi
iseko wingi mwakwete isaso wingi mwakwete mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
katusi muchibo kege wali bomba kale lomba mwatuja tulelilake
Thank you very much to all joining us. Share this broadcast. We are hosting renowned lawyer John Sangwa. He has just read the 10 points and 10 questions which we need to answer. We really have a broken country. It's just not an issue of political leadership that we're looking for, or leadership. According to John, you have to join your and then join with your commitment. Are you willing to make the sacrifices that are needed for this country? It's just not about leaders. Anyone, like John's, has stated, can promise, can say that I'm going to reduce or remove poverty, that I'm going to create employment. But he says it's not that undertaking, and he says he's not ready to be part of those just that say things they know they cannot commit. And in his assessment, he has identified one of the issues is that the country is broken, but it needs your participation if we have to emancipate this country. Let's go back. I think now his internet our internet is okay. Mr. Sangwa, to interrupt your thoughts, because I want this broadcast to remain with the quality that it is renowned for. Please continue with your thoughts.
No, I was making the point that, we have a choice as a country. Okay, we have to make that collective decision that we need to move forward. We need to improve and bring about economic development for the country. That is a choice that we have, because remember, we're a sovereign country. Being sovereign means that you are responsible for your own destiny, So we have to make those choices. Now, my making of these 10 points, I went back over, I had to review the past 60 years. What have we done wrong? And what is it that we need to do to get things right? Now, you see, first of all, we live in a divided country. as somebody reminded me the other day, I saw something where somebody was saying that in another 5 years, Zambia will be heaven on earth. And I just said, but how is that even possible? How are you going to achieve that? Nobody's saying how they are going to achieve that. There have also been pronouncements to the effect that, well, by 2031, we'll be able to double the GDP. But nobody talks about how they are going to do that. Okay? And in any case, they haven't done that. Now, we now have to think. Now, if let's say one has to come, I don't want to come and simply be tell more lies, but what is required are solutions. People are more interested in something more meaningful. Now, the first question that I've asked is very simple. Do we really understand the scale of our challenges? That is the starting point. Nobody, ambassador, goes to the hospital until and unless they accept the fact that they're unwell. Now, as a country, if we don't acknowledge the extent of the challenges that we face, then we're not ready to make the sacrifices that are required. Okay? Now, people have been throwing around numbers. Just as an example, I think the last budget, they were talking about the fact that we have recorded in 2025 economic growth of 5.8% or so. Now, those are just numbers, but what do they really translate on the ground? Now, what is not factored in that discussion is the rate at which the population is increasing. Our population is increasing at nearly 4% per annum. Now, how can you turn around a country with an economic growth in terms of GDP of around 5 to 6%, and then you have a population which is growing at the rate of 4%? Nobody has ever articulated that. Okay? What you're looking at is an impossible position. And that is why people are saying those numbers are not felt on the ground. Now, in addition to that, nobody is talking about the leakages, the theft, the corruption, the wastage, the leakages that are happening. Okay? Now, when we factor in, what we have is a near impossible situation to turn around based on the numbers that we're able to achieve. Okay? Now, this is the kind of discussion
I'm glad, Council, that you've referred to, for example, the national budget. I was coming to that. You've painted a picture of a broken country, a poor people, yet there have been so much opportunities. We are 60 years, like you've stated. I've always given an example on this program that we started far richer than Singapore, Vietnam, South Korea, China, and Japan. Today, those countries have leapt to first worlds. We're number 3 economy in Africa. We are now among the 6th poorest countries in the world. We are among the 10 most unequal countries in the world. Recently, we are being cited for wrong things, from witchcraft to human rights abuses, to all sorts of negative things that have been thrust before us. But when you listen to the team that's ruling us, led by President Hakainde Hichilema, they are painting a glorious picture that there is a nation in recovery. There's a nation marching forward with 6% economic growth, that they've revived the mining, agriculture, and other sectors, that they've rescheduled the debt. Therefore, you have no choice but to re-elect a President Hakainde Hichilema. And then there's a picture, a gloomy, bad picture that we've just painted. How do we reconcile the two? Are we living in alternative realities? And I'm glad that you said your statement of questions was not a manifesto, but a mirror to ourselves. Are we being dishonest with ourselves? Are we failing to accept we are sick and therefore we can't take ourselves to the hospital?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's exactly the point, Ambassador. I mean, I gave this example to somebody. He said, you recall during the time of the AIDS, when AIDS was ravaging countries, there were people who lived in denial. When they told them to say, well, you are HIV positive, they refused. Now, most of these people are dead today, but the others that accepted their position and they accepted treatment, they are still alive to this day. Now, as a country, we have to make that choice. Do we want to delude ourselves that we are making progress when there is absolutely nothing on the ground to support that? Okay, so healing starts with accepting where we are. Now, I have no problem if Zambians think that everything is okay, then that's fine. That's the choice that they'll have made. Okay, but I do not believe that we are okay. We should have been far much better than we are. You're talking about Singapore and these other faraway countries, but if you want an African example, you simply have to go to Botswana. The GDP of Botswana is possibly 4 times that of Zambia. And yet, at independence, Botswana was literally a basket case. The GDP of Botswana at independence was something like maybe about a quarter of what Zambia's was at independence. But today, Botswana, an African country, also mineral dependent, has actually surpassed us in terms of GDP per capita. Now, those are the realities, you know. Now, the truth of the matter is our population is growing at a faster rate than the resources can keep up. I'll give you an example. When I went to university, we were accommodated. Now, we were 2 people per room. Today, go to UNZA and ask yourselves how many students are sharing that same room today. What has happened is that the population has grown, but infrastructure has not kept up with the population growth. Now, we need to have this kind of conversation. For example, these are the issues that we should be discussing. If the population is growing at 4%, what is the sustainable rate of economic growth? By some estimates, to sustain that kind of population, we should be looking at an economic growth year on year consistently of not less than 8%. For there to be any for that growth to be felt. And that also presupposes that there is no corruption, there is no leakages, and there is just no wastage of resources. That money spent is spent properly, and government is able to receive value for money. Now, we're not having that kind of discussion. Can we sustain the population that we have? And can we also, and if we have to sustain it, the question is, what should be our target? If it is 8%, how do we go to 8%? Now, as long as the economic growth lags behind, what we are looking at is a complete failure. Now, first of all, there is another factor which we don't talk about. Technically, you can describe Zambia as a fragile state. Now, when you move away from a fragile state, you go into a failed state. Now, what is a fragile state? It is exactly what is happening, okay? There is levels of poverty are unmanageable. There is serious unemployment. Infrastructure is way behind the population, and there is a serious population growth. But there is also another factor that we don't talk about. Although we have institutions, we have the parliament, we have the judiciary, we have law enforcement agencies. All these institutions are weak institutions. They are weak. Our National Assembly is literally a rubber stamp, which is there, or it is basically a rubber stamp. The National Assembly is supposed to play an oversight role over the over the executive. It doesn't. Every measure passed by the executive goes through the National Assembly. So the National Assembly is basically an extension of the executive. Again, when we're talking about the judiciary is supposed to be the last place you go for refuge, where you have problems with the National Assembly and the executive. That is you go to. Now, the judiciary is equally weak. And I've been fighting this case to make sure that judges are paid well. There is a judgment of the court, which the court clearly stated that you have to implement this order to ensure that the judiciary is independent financially, and the executive has never complied with that particular directive. And as you may recall, recently, there was a case that was taken up to make sure that as part of strengthening the judiciary, we ensure that the new judges that are appointed, they go through a transparent, robust system of interviews and vetting so that we get the best judges that have gone through this very rigorous process. Again, we have just witnessed a secret recruitment process. Now you wonder, why would even anybody do that? Now, all these measures, and that's why I've been fighting. I'm not a judge, and I only have friends. I don't have relatives who is on the bench. But I stand for this institution as a matter of principle because it is a critical institution in the governance of the country. Now, if we don't strengthen the institutions, it doesn't matter what we do. We're not going anywhere as a country. These are the challenges that we face, and these are the challenges that we have to decide as Zambians how we tackle them. Either we have a choice, we can continue, it can be business as usual, or we can say we deserve better and we have to do things differently. So this is the reality. One can paint whatever picture they want to paint, but the facts on the ground do not support whatever numbers that are being thrown around.
Yeah, wonderful. Let me bring you back to the issue. I think your forte, the issue. You are a lawyer, and I think most of your advocacy has been in law practice or related matters, such as the Constitution. I think the country knows your sound opinions on the issues of the Constitution and how you raise alarm every time there's an abrogation or threat to our Constitution and our democracy. You've just talked about the secret recruitment of judges. There was a Superior Court Act that was amended, which has expanded the bench at the Constitutional Court, the Supreme Court, and at High Court. And here it is. We all agree our judges are few. We all agree the burden of their work is so much in relation to per capita. They really can't save us. From the justices in the lower courts up to the Supreme Court, we really need to invest in the judiciary. Here is an opportunity. And here is an opportunity to help strengthen the judiciary. President Hakainde Hichilema and his government have commenced a secret recruitment of judges. And we have an election year. If you have, for example, a constitutional court that ruled against his constitutional making process, is probably afraid that he may have a judiciary or a constitutional court that can rule against him in an electoral petition next year. This secret recruitment of judges, we always cry to you lawyers, what can be done to stop such processes? Because in the end, with such kind of parliament you call the rubber stamp, these judges will become our judges. Last time he employed 27 judges. Among them, there were some identified as not even properly qualified to be judges. But because there is arrogance of numbers in parliament, those men and women became our judges. Here we are again, faced with a similar situation, a secret recruitment, no open and transparent process, and these men and women will likely become our judges. What can be done?
Well, there's a matter in court. We just hope and pray that the Constitutional Court will have to stand up and be able to address the issue. We've gone there, and it's very shocking actually that anybody would actually resist such an initiative, because we all want a strong. Speaking for me, in a normal situation, you'd want to have a strong judiciary. Now. And part of strengthening the judiciary is having a transparent recruitment system so that when a judge is appointed, Now, remember, unlike politicians who have to go for re-election every 5 years, judges serve up to the earliest they can leave is 65 and finally leave at 70. So literally, they are there up to the time they reach their retirement age. So it is important to be able to make sure that we have a proper system in place so that the judges themselves can feel confident that I was appointed by merit and I went through a rigorous process which was transparent, and I came out as one of the successful applicants. That is very important. Okay, that is very important. And I have said before, there is no single judge in this country that can say he or she was appointed on merit. There isn't. Okay, I'm not saying they're bad judges, but there is just no system they can rely upon to be able to argue that I was appointed on merit. There isn't. And one of the ways in which we are trying to take away this, because the process is secret or nobody knows how one gets elected, what it means is that when you become a judge, you're already captured by the executive branch of government. Okay? To avoid that, that is why it is imperative to have a transparent system. One of the other things that people don't realize is that a strong judiciary is key for the economic development of any country. No serious investor will go and invest in a country where the judiciary is weak, where the judiciary is open to corruption. That is why, if you look at our ability to attract foreign investment, the bulk of the investors we have had in Zambia, they are basically here for extraction of raw materials and traders. That is what constitutes the bulk of our foreign investors. There are very few people that have come and set up factories and everything else, because factories require long-term investment. Now, when the judiciary is weak and there is instability in the system, I mean, one has to be, very serious investors are reluctant to invest in a country like that. We get queries as lawyers all the time where we are queried, how strong is your judiciary? Okay, and we are at loss to be able to explain. For example, you have cases, commercial cases that have been in court for nearly 20 years. Now, what business can survive litigation for 20 years? Okay, now this is critical for the growth of the country, for the development of the country. Now, these are the issues that we should be addressing. Politicians, you can hire every 5 years, but you can't be churning judges every 5 years. You can't. So the process of admission is very important, that it is robust, transparent, and legitimate in the process.
The second issue is the issue of the constitution and its reforms. We're 10 months away from elections. And if it's for nominations of presidential candidates, I think we literally are a few months away because an electoral calendar has been set up. But this government is determined to amend the constitution. They think that, first of all, a delimitation process should be effected and women and youth should be included. Many analysts have said this, if the constitutional amendments were to proceed, it will advantage President Hakainde Hichilema. Because, first of all, you will have a parliament with a start of 42 MPs that you will have nominated. Whichever president wins then can nominate up to 42 members of parliament, because the 12 youths, the 20 women, and the 10 that are usually nominated by the president. And then the delimitation, whose report has not been issued to our people. We don't know which constituencies will be then delimited or divided. Clearly, the constitutional amendment has been seen to be done in a process that is dishonest. Despite its rejection by the Constitutional Court, the president has proceeded with this process. Yesterday, like you always say, Council, there's no dull moment in Zambia, because you wake up tomorrow and there's a bombshell. We woke up, the president appointed is it a 20 something member committee as a technical committee to reform our constitution. The Constitutional Court was very clear in its directive to government that the process must be transparent. The men and women that will be set up, I think, must be inclusive, drawn from great stakeholders. This is a matter you fought for literally all your life, the issue of the Constitution. How do you see this matter, and where should we go? This obsession with clear amendment of the Constitution before we go to election.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it this way. It's simply being irresponsible, okay? And it's not acting in the interest of the country. The Constitution is the least of our problems. We have more pressing issues. These are economic and social. Unless somebody can tell me that amendment of the Constitution will put food on the table of the Zambians or will improve the GDP of this country, I'll be the first one to support it. Okay? We don't do that. Now, even if, let's say, you want, nobody has made a case why we have to amend the Constitution in the first place. And I've argued this several times. The Constitution as we have it is a bipartisan product between UPND and PF in 2016, a bipartisan product. They debated all the clauses that were there. And I've argued this thing, and I've said the same reasons we oppose Bill 10, those reasons are still valid today. Now, first of all, you see, the country is struggling economically. Now, you want to create more sources of expenditure, okay? And now you're talking about creating, I don't know how many other constituencies that they are talking about, but nobody's talking about the financial implication of that. If you look at it, is that a priority for the country? The answer is no, it's not a priority. The priority is fixing the economy. The priority is creating jobs. Priority is ensuring that there are medicines in hospitals and so forth. Those are the priorities that we should be focusing on. And now, even this very exercise which they announced is a very weird one. First of all, you appoint a committee. I haven't seen the terms of reference. If you go back from 1972, every commission appointed has the terms of reference. This one, we don't even know. Maybe it's yet to come. Maybe I should hold judgment and wait for it to come. But it is, I mean, it is irresponsible. You don't do it that way. And amending the Constitution is not like amending a party constitution. A party constitution, you can wear, even a party constitution, I don't think you can amend it the way they want to amend the national constitution. It is absolutely not a priority. Ambassador, let me also seize this opportunity to clarify one other thing. You know, there is a misconception here between creating additional constituencies and delimitation. Delimitation has nothing to do with creation of new constituencies. Even right now, there ought to be a delimitation. Right now, there should be a delimitation before the election, so that this takes effect once the National Assembly is dissolved. Okay? Delimitation is not the creation of new constituencies. It is the adjustment in the boundaries of constituencies. I'll give you an example. I've talked about this thing before. You have Kanyama constituency with 500,000 people. 500,000 people. That is just one constituency. Then you have Feira constituency, which has less than 50,000 people. It doesn't make sense. Okay? Ordinarily, with the Lusaka's population of nearly 3 million, Lusaka should have more than 20 constituencies. Just by redesigning the existing constituencies within the province, redesigning them, such that in the case of Kanyama, you should have 3 constituencies out of Kanyama alone, without increasing the number of 156. Okay? That is what delimitation is all about. The delimitation is supposed to ensure that members of parliament have almost the same number of people in their respective constituency. It doesn't make sense why a member of parliament of representing Kanyama should be representing 500,000 people, and the MP for Feira should be representing less than 50,000. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so that is the purpose of delimitation, which ought to be undertaken right now. Revise the boundaries of constituencies in Lusaka province so that you end up with roughly maybe about 30 or so just about under 20. Right now, I think the number is about 12 or so. We need to have more constituencies in Lusaka, not creating more, but just revising the boundaries. This is the misconception that we have, you know. So our priorities as a country is misguided. We're not focusing on the real issues.
You said something, State Council. Sorry, you said something fundamental there. We don't need to amend the Constitution to revise the boundaries. We don't need constitutional amendments to review the current number of seats in Parliament. Is the delimitation process only possible if we amend the Constitution?
No. You see, those are two different concepts altogether. Here's the point, Ambassador. People move. Take Kanyama, for instance. You cannot move the people of Kanyama and take them elsewhere. So what you can do is to revise the boundaries of Kanyama constituency. That is what you have to do. For example, I'll give you a few other constituencies, for example. Some of the constituencies that we have in Zambia, let's go back again to Feira. Feira should not be a constituency on its own. Okay? It has to be merged with other constituencies. On average, every constituency should have at least not less than 100,000 people. Okay? The idea is that you take the population and divide it by 156. That is the total number of your elected representative. Okay? Now, if you look at that number, you're likely to end up around 120,000 people. That becomes the average per constituency. So which means that you have to divide the entire country, revise the boundaries. Remember, not create new constituency, but revise the boundaries of the existing constituencies in such a manner that each constituency has plus or minus 120,000 people. That is what we're supposed to do without adding more seats. I'll give you another example. There is I think Solwezi West or in Northwestern Province. It's about 28,000 people, one constituency. That should not be a constituency. It should be merged with other constituencies to make one. Okay? You have, for example, Siavonga, which is a constituency in its own right. Siavonga has about 65,000. Siavonga should not be a constituency on its own. That is misapplication of resources, and that is the failure of ECZ. ECZ must be able to make sure that there is a balance, there is an equal distribution in terms of numbers, and this has to do with the revision of the boundaries, not the creation of new constituencies. Okay, now the creation of the constituency is just a political game that is being played. It has nothing to do with delimitation. Delimitation is a responsibility of ECZ. It has nothing to do with the executive, which ECZ should have been doing anyway. Those are the issues. So this is a lie that is being perpetrated. Oh, that we need delimitation. No, delimitation has nothing to do with increasing the number of seats in the National Assembly. When you create additional seats, that's a different issue. But right now, a delimitation exercise, which is a revision of the current boundaries based on the 2022 census, that ought to be carried out. Okay. Again, if you look at the distribution of seats, there is an imbalance about how the 156 has been divided. If you look at the census report of 2022, those are the issues we should be talking about, not amending the constitution, or let alone increasing the number of seats in the National Assembly.
I think it's a cry, like there's a lot of misunderstanding. Do you need more districts or do you need more constituencies? The issue is of representation. The areas you've cited that sometimes the population, I remember politicians would argue that if I win Lusaka, Munali, for example, Munali and Matero and Mandevu combined, forms the entire population of Northwestern Province. So I think there's an issue of both representation and population, according to how our population are dispersed across the country. But of course, that's another day for debate. But our politicians have put it that you just need a seat near where you are. Even if you are 10 of you near a village, you need a new constituency in that area for representation.
Yeah, that's being irresponsible and a wastage of resources. Yes. Yeah. So, Ambassador,
this is a very, very interactive program, and there are many people waiting to call you. We've got a huge turnout on social media that have turned out to listen to you. You are ready to serve, and ready to serve in what capacity? Have you formed a political party? Are you going to join a political party? Will you shop for a political party? Have you thought about this?
Ambassador, I've taken time. Okay? The problem again, it comes down to these issues that we're talking about. We keep on repeating, doing the same thing, and for some reason we hope for a different outcome. Okay? Now, there are so many examples of people that have jumped into this political arena, formed their political party. And what happens? At the end of the day, they just realize they are on their own. Okay? Now, we have to learn from that. Why is that? And that is why I am saying, I'm here to serve, but I'm not there to serve alone. Okay? I'm inviting people. Can we join hands? Now, whatever we do is not for my personal benefit. It is for our collective benefit as a people. Now, we have to try something new. Now, a lot of people have asked me, have you formed a political party? And I'm saying, you know what? A political party is like a tent. You don't erect a tent until you know who's coming to sit in that tent. Now, once we know who is coming in the tent, it's very simple. You can choose to buy a new tent, or I didn't know that. I've just discovered that actually there are political parties for sale. So
this is Zambia. Everything has a price and everything has a cost.
When I started practice, we used to have companies off the shelf. Now I've been told that there are political parties off the shelf.
Correct.
It's a question of having your priorities properly triangulated. Okay? I'm not that arrogant enough to be able to believe that, the people that have spoken to me, they're a representation of Zambia. I've not been able to proceed on that premise. I would like to see. That's why I'm throwing this challenge to the Zambians. Can we join hands and be able to transform this country? Okay? Now, once there is a response, then we make a collective decision. Now, we have to learn from the mistakes that have been made in the past. Invariably, when you form a political party, technically it means that you own that political party. Okay? I don't want to own a political party. I don't. Okay? I want to be part of a political party, but not to own one. Okay? And not only that, the moment you form a political party, somebody already put himself there as president. Now, you are assuming you are the best person that is going to come into the tent. I mean, you don't know that. So that is why it is important to be able to articulate this particular issue, have priorities right, you know. And also, one of the things that I'm talking about, the same in terms of the 10-point questions, it is, I'm saying, are we willing to be able to elect men and women men and leaders, men and women of integrity and competence? Okay? Now, when we're talking about that, that concept is not just at a national level. It has to be at a party level already. Okay? If I may just remind you, we've taken out a case, by the way, before the Constitutional Court, where we are saying that there is need to pass a political parties act. Now, that particular act is supposed to provide that parties must be internally democratic. Now, and those are issues that I have to respect. I'm not above the law. I'm not above the Constitution. Okay, so I am bound to respect the Constitution. So it has to be a collective decision to be made. Now, we have seen where others have ended. I think it is irresponsible for us to repeat what others have done and have ended up in failure. Okay, so the starting point is there an appetite for renewal? Okay, that is the starting point, Ambassador. Is there an appetite in Zambia for renewal? I don't know. Maybe people are content with the way life things are. I don't know. Okay, and that's why I've thrown this challenge. Now, well, people may tell me, we are happy with the way things are. Then what's the point of creating a new vehicle if the outcome people are telling you to say we are happy? You know, but once there is that response and the people are saying we are not happy, then let's agree together. How are we going to do this thing? And that's why I'm saying this is not a one-man show. It is not my sacrifice alone, Ambassador. I would like you to sacrifice. I would like everybody else to sacrifice for the good of this country. That is why we get incessantly lied to when somebody says, I'll fix everything, only to realize that there is no capacity to fix anything. I am not promising that I have all the answers. I don't. But collectively, I believe there are enough brains in this country, both within and outside this country, to transform this country. That is what I believe in. Now, so there is more groundwork to be done. Okay, I've challenged Zambians, and if they are willing, let's join hands. Okay, I cannot assume that they are willing. This is a huge sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice, Ambassador. And I'm calling upon Zambians to say, let's make the sacrifice for a better Zambia. Now, if people are not willing to sacrifice, then that is their choice, you know. So there are a lot of things that have to be made. You asked me about about the presidential thing. Now, again, we have this obsession with the presidency. Okay? Now, there's a joke that is told. A Greek friend of mine once told me many years ago, have you ever met a Zambian who doesn't want to be president? Now, that is the problem, because we have cheapened that office so much. And yet, that is the toughest job on earth. Okay? Now, when you are president for a country like Zambia, what you are basically saying, you are responsible for the lives of 25 million people. Your decisions determine whether some of those people live or die. This is not something that we ought to take lightly. You need the confidence of your peers to be able to ascend to that particular office. Okay? Now, I have offered myself. Okay? I have expressed my willingness, and I'm also looking for the endorsement of my peers. They have to look at my character and be able to tell me whether I'm suitable for the job. It's not automatic, and it shouldn't be automatic, you know. So, but the most important thing is that the groundwork has to be done first. Are the people ready for renewal? If they are, then we go on to the next question. How are we going to do it? This is a collective effort. As I'm speaking, I'm not claiming that I have all the answers. I don't. Okay, and it will be dangerous for one to assume that I have the sum total for the human knowledge. But what I believe is the fact that this country is in trouble and we need to change course. Continuing on this particular path will find this country is being classified as a failed state. That is where we are headed.
Indeed, I didn't even bother to go to the state of the nation because I think this is well known and well articulated, and the lives of our people speak for themselves. We are in dire strait as a country. The many comments I've seen on social media from your letter yesterday is exactly what I've just asked you, whether you're forming a party or you're joining colleagues. There is another rider to that. What will be your role with the opposition? Again, they're asking, are you joining your colleagues, for example, in a united front? Others are even pairing you. No, be with Dolika. No, be with Makebi Zulu. No, be with... They're already forming a team. What is your perception around a team? You seem in your letter, what I gather, maybe I'm wrong, is that you seem to have bypassed the current political structure and you've gone straight to the people. But people are asking the mechanisms. Yes. What about the current people that have been in the struggle, the political parties who are attempting to unite together? Are you bypassing them? And in working with others on the United Front or individuals, like many people are saying, Dolika Banda and others, what is your view? Have you applied your thoughts to that?
Ambassador, in our politics, in fact, we have ignored the voter. Okay? And yet, it's the voters that are the bosses. Okay? So my message is directly to the Zambian people. Ultimately, they are the decision makers. Okay? And depending upon their reaction, they will be able to dictate to us what we must do. And also, from where I stand, this is a sacrifice on my part. It is me discharging my constitutional obligation to the country. Okay? Now, it shouldn't be so much about positions. Now, that is where the problem is. We get so consumed about position that we forget what the real challenges are. Now, at the end of the day, what is critical, and what is critical really is transforming this country. Now, you can see in the last election, for example, people are smart. The citizens are smart. That is why I'm talking to Zambians directly. If you look at the results of the last election, we had what? Something like 14 or 15 political parties. And yet, the real contest was just between two political parties. The people made that decision. Okay? I think you and I have joked about this thing whereby to say there was a third political party which got the third highest votes, which is the spoiled ballot. So the voters are smart, okay? And that is why I'm challenging them. I'm speaking directly to them to say, these are the challenges. These are my 10 questions. Are you willing to join hands with me? Okay. And at the end of the day, the rest of nothing is cast in stone. At the end of the day, the determinant will be the interests of the country. That is the overriding consideration. Not my interest, not my welfare, not my well-being, but the interests of the republic has to come first. So whatever alliances or arrangements that is made, as long as it benefits the country, that is what is important.
Before I invite the callers, if one of or many people or teams come around and respond to your questions, and amongst them, there's someone who you think maybe can even make a better president, will you give them an opportunity? Are you willing, like we always ask?
Yes, Ambassador.
Are you willing to be led? Can you
yes,
or can
I
you
would
be led?
do that. Yes, yes, I would do that. I'm not that arrogant enough to believe that I'm the person with the best brains in the country. No, okay. And at the end of the day, it is the interest of the country. The interest of the country is paramount. It trumps my personal ambition, my personal interest. The country must come first. That should be our priority. And that is why I never said I'm going to be president. I said I'm ready to serve. Okay? Okay? Because I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm the best person that is out there. But if there is another person that is there that I believe can drive this country forward, my interest is to see the country progress. And if there is somebody else who is competent, who has integrity, that can actually push this agenda forward and try and bring a forth renewal, Ambassador, I'll rally behind such a person. Okay? I'll rally behind such a person. For me, what is important is the country. We have lost so much in the last 60 years, and it is time that we took a different direction altogether.
Dear viewers, it's your time. Let's get our phones and let's share this broadcast. We are hosting renowned Lusaka lawyer, constitutional lawyer in our country, John Sangwa, State Counsel. And I want to pick your cause. What are your contributions? He's read to us. He's read to us what his thoughts are. He's read 10 points, something you'd call a 10-point plan, really. But he's asking you that the sacrifices that leaders have to make, there are some things that you need to make. The calls are beginning to pour in. Let's take those calls. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I am John Kasonso. I'm calling you from Vancouver, Washington. And I have 4 questions for State Counsel, John Sangwa.
Professor Kasonso, John Kasonso.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Make your contribution or your questions.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the State Counsel. He has been an important voice for our country on matters of the law. And a lot of people also have passed through his classrooms as a great teacher, and we have all his testimonials all over the country and littered all over the world. So I first of all would like to thank him for his service to his country for in that capacity. And then also, I would like to cite one situation that will lead into the question. The State Counsel John Sangwa told us that President Edgar Lungu was not eligible to stand for a 3rd term. And he took the case to the Constitutional Court. Among other people, they lost that case. But later on, once they lost that case, or subsequent others lost those cases, there was a repeat of that case. So he wanted to take his faith and his trust in the system that the prior judgments were valid. But again, he lost that case. The other judges ruled that he wasn't eligible to stand ever again. And they explained it to us. So there are these nuances of the law. I can't attribute that to the fact that he was flip-flopping, but I can just attribute that he is a very humble and a very useful citizen. Yeah, and in that same regard, I would like to, first of all, take a correction. Botswana's GDP is not 4 times that of Zambia. That was an incorrect statement. The Botswana's GDP stands at $19.3 billion in nominal terms. Their projected GDP growth is minus 0.4 for 2025.
I think that is said in relation to their population. Their population is only 2 million.
I'm coming there. I'm coming there, Ambassador. I'm coming there. I have the number for that as well. Zambia's GDP is 31.8 billion and projected growth is 6.6 billion. When you go to GDP per capita, that is in relation to their population, Zambia's GDP is 1,330. And Botswana's GDP is 7,020. So the GDP per capita is 5.3 times more, not 4 times. Now, when it comes to GDP, I want to agree with the State Counsel that the GDP number projected and also talked about in Zambia is not a useful number because I'll add the meat. Much of the earnings of the country go to foreign investors, to imports and debt servicing. Now, the first question I would like to ask the State Counsel is, were you invited to participate on the technical committee to gather citizens' views and draft the Constitution? But if not, why do you think you were not appointed to that, or you again just refused? 2, you have said that the best performing president was President Frederick Chiluba, and I have the view I take the view that he found the situation bad economically in Zambia as president, but he made it worse through company closures that could have been improved through business process re-engineering. The view of mine is that the structural adjustment program was a fiasco. The question is, who are your heroes and role models among the economists, and how can that, how do their ideas inform what you are proposing? And finally, I have known you at a distance since the days of Zadeco, ZDC, then Mwamba ZDC. I have never heard you speak any of our mother tongues, Ichinyanja, Ichibemba, or any of our mother tongues. So just where is your village? Thank you, State Council.
Professor Kasonso there from Vancouver, Canada. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
My name is Mrs. Anonymous from the AI Kingdom. Yeah, good evening, Council John Sangwa. It's good to have you on this program and to hear your, I think, views on what people are calling you for to be. Oh, Council, can you also consider to be the other part of the people to liberate Zambia, or to join people who are saying, can we have independence 2.0? Yeah, I'm going to ask in relation with what you discussed concerning the delimitation and the redesigning of the constitutions and so forth. This question is with regards to Constitution Development Fund, which I think when you look at the budget that Honorable Stumbe Komisogotwane gave, was it last week or so, where we saw that there's an increment in the number of, in the amount of money that has been allocated to CDF per constitution, and it has gone to 40 million kwacha, if I get my figures correct. And if you look at how the figures have been increasing from the time UPND came into power, we are now at 40 million kwacha per Constitution Development Fund. However, when we see the release of those funds to the constituencies, it has been a challenge. I think we saw at one time where they showed who is doing well in terms of utilizing or the utilization of the Constitution Development Funds. And we saw Munia Zulu was amongst the top people. However, when you look at...
My dear sister, ask your question. As you can see, all phones are ringing. Let's see how we can accord as many people as possible.
Yes, Ambassador, I wanted to go stage by stage so that I get to, I'm almost there.
Please, quickly, just ask your question. Let's be fair. All my phones are ringing.
Okay, let me do this. So, Council, when you look at the amount of money going to CDF and the projects that are coming out of there, do you think, what's your comment? Do you think it's part of the issues you said? We are seeing leakages, misuse, and so forth. Do you think CDF is part of the new ZAMTRUP account that was perceived in the Chiluba administration? I just want your comment on that.
Thank you very much, my sister. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Anonymous, make your questions quickly or make your contributions.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Council. Thank you very much for turning up, and thank you very much for the 10-point plan, challenge to Zambians. My first question to you. You have indicated that you are not the chosen one and that you are just informing us that you are available for service, which is very positive and encouraging. And my question is that there are a lot of existing political parties and opposition political parties. And at the moment, the opposition especially the largest, the Patriotic Front, we've seen that there's a lot of in-house confusion there. What role, if you are called upon, are you looking at any, they are already established. They've already been governing. And then there's also quite a number of the opposition parties that have just gotten together. The Zambia We Want, Bahari Kalaba, Fred Membe. Would you be encouraged to join and rally behind, like you have mentioned when Mwamba asked you to say you are ready to support one, especially where you see that there's life there? What is your voice on that one? I think it's very important. You come out very, very clear. You articulate your issues very well. You seem very informed. And this doesn't seem like it's an assignment that has just been called upon by the people. But even yourself, the way you speak, you have definitely been studying this, that you are ready now to face the Zambian people. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, my name is Uncle J. Thank you very much. I'll just go straight to the point.
Yes, Uncle J.
Thank you. Here is the thing. State Council, you've just reminded me of one thing quickly that I saw in the scripture of an old man when he saw the birth of Christ. That is all he was waiting for, and it was done. This is what you've exactly done to me. We are behind you. Basically, I'm just endorsing you. You are the man. You are the anointed one. This is what Zambia needed. It is in a mess. It just needs a person of your caliber and integrity to revert it to the right path. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thank you very much, Honorable Emmanuel Mwamba. I'm Don Oscar. I'm calling from Italy, and I greet Council John Sangwa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I've listened so carefully for a detailed explanation of Council John Sangwa. Wonderful indeed. But I think Council John Sangwa have understood the question that all of us were expecting that today the judge, Madam Zulu, is going to give back the Patriotic Front Party back to their original owners. Today, everyone, we were waiting for that. And now, listening that this has not come out, we have discovered that there is something seriously wrong. We don't understand what is happening, but something is seriously wrong. Now, this is my question. By John Sangwa, I think we have had a conversation with you, Honorable. By John Sangwa, with this situation, I personally, as a Catholic priest, I'm a Catholic priest. My word is also to interpret a lot of people behind me. It's not only me speaking. There is a lot of people behind me. What the judge has given regarding the Patriotic Front case and coming out with something which is so complicated for me, who is not a lawyer and I'm not a judge, it's very complicated for me. By John Sangwa, people have shown you, me inclusive, we have shown you that I think you might be the right person to come and unite the country Zambia. We are not talking in terms of politics. We are talking in terms of leadership. I'm one of those people who think you are a right candidate to come and unite the country Zambia. even to help our President Hakainde Hichilema with this situation where we are found in ourselves in. Now, by John Sangwa, we as citizens, we are ready to come and give you reason that the 10 plan, the 10 points that you've given us, we side with you. But if you have seen what has happened now by John Sangwa, if the law is being applied partially, and something which was so clear for me to give back the party to the Patriotic Front, because Mao Sampa was elected illegally, has confessed and come out and say, they elected me as a president unlawfully, and then we found that this cannot be applied sincerely and carefully by John Sangwa. Me, I'm ready to support you. Most of the Zambian people are ready to support you. Even some of the UPND people are ready to support you. But this is my question. Are you going to be ready as well to confront such type of battle where sometimes you might be called to question illegally, unlawfully, or unnecessary? Are you ready yourself? We are ready. I, Donoska, I am ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba, and good evening, State Council John Sangwa. This is Lilian Mutambo. I'm calling you from the United Kingdom. Basically, I've listened to everything you've said. We appreciate you coming on board. And my main reason to speak now is about women. We've had so many promises, even with President Hakainde Hichilema promising women that he would give them positions. But we see that there's only about maybe 2% of people in parliament who are female. Whilst in Namibia, we are admiring how 57% of their cabinet, including different government offices, they have women in position. Can you give us a promise that you appoint as many women in different government positions? Because women are very powerful. We are the leaders of you people. We know you are the ones who come in power. But then at the end of the day, you abandon us women. You use us as, singing birds. After that, you only appoint only men. So what is your plan for the women and the youths? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Mrs. Munkonge, good evening.
Mkwaiwa Munkonge, make your contributions.
Ngai kushako wa State Council, ushe wa State Council. Kwena bantra mpokerera fe bwino nomba na mwana na problem tukwete ikulu. Shabwerera sana kuno mapantu istata tukwete ushe yomwali wasana very powerful. Nishi palino istate tumwafuira kuba Patriotic Front. Uko bafwako kupoka ichirongano chabo pantu ninshi wokwe bati mutete mufirwe. Mwabafwako fe okupoka not the interest kwe bati yo mulefa mwe president. Mwabafwako fe pantu ninshi wokwe bati tete mufirwe kubapokera party yakaena in the favor of basata mwalishe basata mu bapitire bali ba governor bali pito mwingi sana basateka ne charo mwalimu nefu bambiro kuturanga nomba echa mpamba bafwa nomba muri icho kwena tete muchiteko fe ona basata mwabapokera kofe party yabo then bali icho kwena kutina totera sana.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, caller. We have to revert to Honorable John Sangwa to answer some of the questions, but tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I'm Patricia and I'm calling you from Germany.
Yes, Patricia, make your contributions.
Okay, so I just have a short question and good evening, State Council John Sangwa. I'm a very concerned citizen, especially when it comes to issues pertaining to Northwestern and the mining and how the government just allows plundering of the land there and people benefit nothing. And I want to ask, like, should we support you and you become president? What are you going to do for the people of Northwestern? Because those people suffer pollution, they are suffering displacement. They have gotten nothing from the UPND except lies and fake promises. And it breaks my heart to see what they go through every day because their life is kind of not secured. You could be displaced tomorrow if they discover God, and nobody cares where you would go. And so for me, it really matters to know who will become president, what are their policies, and what do they have in place for those people in Northwestern Province. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Okay, thank you. This is Tilimbike Zulu calling from Lusaka, Zambia.
Yes, Mr. Tilimbike Zulu.
To you both. Yes, please. Yeah, my question is regarding the Constitution, the amendments that have been proposed by the government and the technical committee that has been constituted. There's been an indication by some players to say if government proceeds with that process, the matter will be taken to court, just try to stop it from the courts. Now, looking at the way our courts are operating, should the court process fail to halt that process of constitutional amendment, what other avenues can we take as a country? Because I don't think the courts, the way they are operating, are able to stop that. We've had people who have cases there, bail pending appeal has been denied. I can refer to the matter of the Patriotic Front, which we believed would be concluded today. Just something else came up. So, in short, I don't think this process can be stopped through the court. So, Honorable Sangwa, as a constitutional lawyer yourself, how can you help Zambians, or what advice can you give Zambians to halt that process of constitutional amendment? Thank you.
Thank you very much. For all those calling, I think let's give Honorable John Sangwa space to answer some of your questions. Callers, you come in the second round. At least he has a few. Let's start with Professor Kasonso. He's asking pointed questions to you, and then let's take the other questions as they came.
Yeah. He said a lot of things. By the way, when I was talking about Botswana, I meant the GDP per capita. Okay. Now, of course, we can go into a lengthy conversation, but this is not actually the forum to be able to do that. In the sense that all what I was pointing out was just to illustrate the point. These are technical issues that have to be discussed, and what I was trying to demonstrate that the GDP per capita of Botswana is far much higher than that of Zambia. And yet, if I may just give the numbers, in 1964, the GDP per capita of Zambia was about $235. That of Botswana at independence in 66, it was $85. Now, if we consider the buying power of the dollar between 1964 and to date, the buying power of $1 in 64 is equivalent to $10. So effectively, the GDP of Zambia in today's terms would be around 2,300. That of Botswana would be around $850 in today's terms. But the reality is that of Botswana is well in excess of $7,000, whereas Zambia is around 1,300. So in terms of GDP, Botswana has surpassed us. Okay, that is the point I wanted to make. I wanted to find a simpler way of demonstrating that. I can't explain how. Okay, I can only guess. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the appointing authority to decide who should be on the technical committee and who should not be on that committee. I've had my own way of contributing to the constitution making process, and I've taken some of the cases to court, and some of the cases have actually led to the amendment of the Constitution. Some of the issues we argued in court have ended up being incorporated in the Constitution, especially in terms of the Constitution as amended in 2016. For instance, one of the things that is very elaborate in the 2016 16 amendment is this provision about the presidential immunity. All those provisions under the Constitution emanated from the case that we did on behalf of President Chiluba. Now, because he didn't have the protections that is currently in the law, and we argued that he needed to be heard. Now, because of the way he was treated, and everybody realized that the system was not fair to him, that is why there is such a robust procedure in the Constitution on the removal of the president's immunity. But I can't explain. It's a complex process, because whenever somebody has a decision to make in terms of the composition of the of the technical committee, they are driven by their own interest, and invariably, whoever determines the composition of the technical committee has an agenda. That composition is never interest-free, including the one that we were told yesterday. One may ask, how was that composition arrived at? Okay, so you can't explain. Maybe only the appointing authority will be able to explain. Now, I don't know Professor Kasonso that well. I've met, I'm not good with names, but I'm good with faces. I have no recollection. Now, these are the challenges that I've stood for. I don't know how much he knows about me. I've never interacted with him, and I don't have recollection of interacting with him to be able to know personal details about whether I speak a Zambian language or I do not. Okay. Now, these are the problems that we are dealing with. Ambassador, this is one of the things that I've raised in point number 3. We are to talk about national unity. We need to be ready to rise above tribe, region, party, and stand together as one people. There is one thing that I do not subscribe to, that is tribalism. Ambassador, I think you and I have known each other for many, many years. Not once have we had a chance to begin to talk about what tribe is and what tribe is not. Okay? Because for me, I am actually one of the things that actually shocks me in this particular environment, which I cannot really understand, is the extent to which tribe has become such a prominent feature in our discourse. When I was growing up, I never knew tribe. And I was just explaining to somebody to say, when I was growing up, one of the things that my parents would tell me is that don't play around with that boy, or don't play with that boy. The only reason that they were referring to was maybe that boy, or he doesn't bath, or he has a foul language. It was always about character. It was never about tribe. And fortunately for me, I grew up in that environment where tribe was never an issue, and I've never taken that to be an issue. And what is surprising for me is, and that is why I've raised in point number 3, we need to be united. Okay? The problem is that tribe has become an issue. We've become so divided, so polarized on tribal lines. That is a very dangerous recipe. A country that is not united cannot prosper, cannot develop. Okay? And one of the things that I've heard, for example, people have argued to say, yes, it is okay. For example, they're talking about tribalism today because it was practiced by President Lungu. Whether it is by President Lungu or whoever it is too wrong. Okay? It is too wrong. We are one Zambia, one nation. Yes, there have been arguments to say, well, certain people were marginalized, certain tribes were marginalized. Yes, there is still a procedure on how to address that. First of all, that issue has to be based on data. It has to be based on data to be able to justify that. And the Constitution in Article 20 allows for that. It is called affirmative action. Okay, when you realize, for example, that a certain region has been marginalized, government has to be transparent about it to make sure that the situation is addressed in that particular area. What I fail to understand is the extent to which one's tribe has become a ticket to social mobility. One's tribe has become the ticket to determine whether you get a job or not. That is not the way we have to develop this country. And that is one of the questions that I have asked. Are we ready to rise above that? Okay? Are we ready to rise above that? That is very important. Professor talked about President Chiluba. We can differ as to what it is, whether privatization was a success or failure. But of course, hindsight is always perfect. But one of the things that we have to acknowledge is that the rest of the world used Zambia's privatization exercise as basically as an experiment. Now, this was the first country in English-speaking countries, amongst the English African-speaking countries, to go through this process. So obviously, it was the people are going through uncharted waters. So we can debate on that, whether what they did was right, was wrong, and so forth. But at the end of the day, we are suffering of course, effects of that particular outcome. But I do believe there is a reason why I share the view that yes, he made some of the tough decisions, and some of the decisions, especially in the mining sector, that President Chiluba made are actually responsible for the mining boom that we have experienced, the way the mining industry has evolved. Some of the decisions that he made are critical and are credited for whatever is happening currently. We can go on debating, and I don't claim to be knowledgeable in all these things. But what is important is the country is where it is. It is in a state of crisis, okay? It is in a state of crisis. The population is increasing, and the economy is not growing in tandem with the population growth. That is the reality, and those are the issues that we need to confront. There was another caller talking about women. The issue is very simple. It is in the Constitution. I think it should be Article 259, that when it comes to appointments, the appointing authority should be sensitive to make sure that appointments are inclusive. It is as simple as that. And furthermore, the Bill of Rights is very clear that there are certain issues that are fundamental. You cannot discriminate on account of gender. You can't do that. Now, you are asking for assurances. I had a conversation with somebody who asked me the same question, and he said, you know what? We supported HH, and he said all the right things, but once in power, he forgot about the assurances that he gave. And I said, well, first, I'm not HH, okay? Number two, and you wanted some assurances for me. And I simply said, you have to look at my track record in the last 30 years. If my track record in the last 30 years does not give you comfort that I'll keep my word, then there are no words that I can give you that will give you comfort. Okay? And that is why I'm talking about having my life should be able to speak for itself. It should be able to give you comfort. If it can't, then obviously I'm not the right person. Then there is a problem in that regard. Because I do believe words are very cheap. People can say whatever they want to say. Minerals, Ambassador, I think you remember you and I previously spoke about this. We did say that there is a provision in the Constitution which clearly states that in areas where minerals are being exploited, government must pass legislation to make sure that the people in that area benefit from those minerals. And the issue is very simple. All these things are in the Constitution. All what is required is for government to pass that legislation. For example, for the people of Northwestern Province, what is required is for the government to pass a law to make sure that the wealth that is being generated in that province, a portion of it remains in that province. Okay? And this is very important to make sure that it is a win-win situation as far as the generation of wealth is concerned. You know, and at the end of the day, we all know that at some point copper will finish, and the people that will be impacted, like it is happening in Kabwe with the situation of lead, is the residents of Kabwe. What have they benefited? Nothing. Okay, but laws are there, and that is what I am saying. Are we ready to stand to make sure that we live true to the ideals contained in the Constitution? Because all these things are there, but unfortunately, there is no political will to implement these issues. Okay,
thank you.
The answers are there.
Yeah, let me take the last set of calls. Callers, you can call. I'll be taking the last set of calls, and then we can close. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador John Mavo, Kunoku, Italy.
Thank you, John. Please make your contributions.
Yes, I have two questions for Avocado John Sangwa SC. Avocado, if you are kuno lawyer at Avocado. But before, I'm very happy that he has used, I don't know if it's 12 letters in his phrase, you know, like ready to serve. It's just 12 letters without making a whole like backlog of promises and stuff. And I hope that with people like him, our people also can understand that it's about serving the people, just like the Chinese system work. Because our people think if somebody becomes rich in our country, then they can lead people, which is very wrong. Like the Chinese system is like political authority overrides individual capital, and individual capitalism is forbidden for people who serve in the government. And I hope our people can have a different mindset, a mindset that is appreciated, like Avocado John Sangwa SC, where he just says ready to serve. But my questions to Council John, my questions are two. From a legal point of view, is the executive, these three arms of government we have, according to a Western democracy style to compare, is the executive allowed from a political level to interfere in another political party internal affairs? Like if Chitika, where the PF, Vachavingavo, Eva Kwata, Kudaku Register of Societies, Eva Vokas, the president of the PF, according to convention, Tabako Kana, but it's the breach constitution, patriotic front. From a legal point of view, according to the Zambian constitution, is this right, and what can be done to help solve this situation? Because I'm sure the executive is involved. And then my other question is the presidency allowed to fire judges? Just like, I don't know if constitution Yesu, from a legal point of view, it allows to politicize the judiciary. For example, I'm a lawyers and I'm a judges who have been appointed by the executive to be fired just like that. Like I'm a technocrats and bureaucrats, are they allowed to be subjected to political shenanigans? These people who are like have self-interest, not the interest of the nation. If so, or if not, are there legal repercussions after maybe they leave power? Because it's very disrespectful to fire a judge, somebody who studied that long, has a lot of experience, and they've been working. They are more like a high-level a civil servant. So I wanted to ask these questions about the legality of interfering in another political party, the internal affairs, and also the firing of judges who serve the judiciary at that level. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've got this call. Linda Banks from the UK has written a message. Mr. Sangwa, you have consistently emphasized the need for integrity and accountability in public office. In your view, how important is a mandatory declaration of assets by public officials, including strengthening transparent governance in Zambia? And what measures would you propose to ensure this practice is just not symbolic, but effectively reinforced? Let me take this call. I have two people waiting, but hello, my dear sister. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, my name is I'm calling from California.
Hello, Queen Pumi from California. Yes, make your contribution. Oh. Hello, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. I think it's Queen Pumi.
Yes, the line got cut. Thank you, Honorable Ambassador Mwamba. It's an honor to be here, be able to speak to our counsel, John Sangwa. We are proud of you, and thank you for the tremendous work that you're doing to form Mother Zambia. I wish there were more men like you. Our country will be different. But my question is, first of all, I love your approach, the way you have come out. I think it shows true leadership. You're not beating your chest to say, I'm the president, but you just come to say, I'm ready to serve. And I think everyone who means well in Zambia, this should be our attitude. We are ready to serve and not fight. 50 people all fighting to be president. So I give you hats off to you on that one. But my question is, God willing, you form government, you are the president. Are you willing to spearhead the removal of the immunity on the president? Because that is key. Removal of the immunity on the president so that if you, sir, you're involved in corruption while in office, we can prosecute you. And also, can you promise us that if you become president and your ministers are involved in corruption, you are not going to interfere in the judiciary and the law enforcement to bring to book the culprits like we are seeing today? Thank you.
Thank you, Queen Pumi. Queen Pumi also runs a political party. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello. Is it me, Ambassador Mwamba?
Yes. Please, caller, tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. It's Patrick Chilufya from the UK.
Yes, Patrick.
State Council Sangwa, that was a fantastic presentation, as usual. And indeed, you are a true leader. And I think the nation needs your leadership. I think Zambia has been trying the same things all over and over again, and nothing has been working. And it's time to reset Zambia back to 1964 and start all over again. And Zambia needs a leader like you. I've just got few quick questions. I don't want to spend a lot of time. A lot of people are waiting to call. I just want you to comment about, one of the reasons I feel Zambia has never developed is we keep on recycling the same people. You look at Sylvia Masebo has been in all governments. And at one point, HH wrote to SATA, 2012, 2013, it's there in Lusaka Times, that you should fire Sylvia Masebo and Winter Kavimba because they were corrupt. Fast forward, HH appointed Sylvia Masewa as Minister of a ministry that is a cash cow, Minister of Health. Fast forward, Sylvia Masewa. Fast forward, Winter Kavimba is a member of the alliance of the UPND. You know, so what do you think about extractive institutions? Would they help? If you had to form government, would you bring people attentive? You know, people who've been moving from one political party to another, just they know the system and they keep on extracting. That's the first question. And then the second one is our minerals. Zambia is so rich by Sangwa. A friend of mine summarized it in this way, that Zambia exemplifies scarcity in the presence, in the midst of plenty, and poverty in the midst of abundance. With our mineral resources, Basangwa, what would you do if we appoint you as a president? How are you going to make our minerals benefit Zambians? Because Zambians have never benefited. You know, we can use that money for education. You saw how Kaunda did it, education, hospitals, everywhere. And also even diversification. We can only get money from the minerals. Botswana is doing it. Botswana has set up a $75 million per year. That money comes from De Beers as part of the agreement for diversification into energy, tourism, and agriculture. And then the third one, Sangwa, on corruption. What do you think about the systematic corruption in Zambia? And why is that if government after government we failed to eradicate this corruption? And then the next one, Sangwa, Queen Pumi, my sister, we fought together to remove Lungu and put this government that has made a U-turn against us. Asked a very good question about removing the immunity of the president. I don't think we need that. South Africa, we all know how that public protector managed to prosecute Zuma whilst in office. We've got a public protector in Zambia, or they used to call them investigator general. How come Mopani was given away just like that, and the public protector was quiet? What do you think about? Can you comment about the Mopani deal also? Then the debt restructuring. What do you think it was done? How would you do better? And then the last one is that's all. I think you're the right candidates to unite the nation. I rest my case.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hi, thank you very much, Ambassador Mwamba. It's Dr. David Kajila here in Canada, Ontario, to be specific.
Yes, welcome, Dr. Kajila. Thank you very much. Please make your contributions.
Thank you. State Council, it's such a pleasure to hear you come out and put your name forward to serve. I think this is one of the best things that has happened in this period. First of all, I want to say you are a breath of fresh air to the political scene in Zambia. And I just want to encourage you to stay the course despite all the things that may come your way. The people of Zambia, I'm sure, will protect you. Now, the comment I want to make is twofold. First of all, I like your approach of putting the constitution of the country as the foremost instrument that should be used in governing the country. I like that fact because the moment we start adulterating our constitution, then our country goes on a slippery slope. We lose direction, and anybody then comes in and just plays around with it like a soccer ball. We want that to change, so I like that approach. The second point that I wanted to make, and actually is a question, is regarding strengthening the institution. I've heard you say several times that you want to strengthen the institution of governance and also separation of powers. what will be the first steps once you take over government and on how you're actually going to effect that? Can you give us sort of a glimpse into that? And finally, I want to reiterate Patricia's comment about the Northwestern province, and in fact, not only Northwestern, but all over the country where minerals are being extracted. It's very, very important that the people be compensated, and I'm glad you've raised that point of doing that. Finally, the issue of the way parties are funded, I think you touched that on your 10-point questions to the country. The raising of funds, we don't want a situation where foreign entities sponsor parties so that when they come into power, they follow the agenda of those sponsors. We want indigenous, grassroots kind of funding. And so, can you, when you get into power, push for the law for declaration of where the sources of sponsorship are coming from? Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. There are so many calls. Colleagues, I'm only going to take the last 4 calls to allow Mr. Sangwa to answer, then we wind up. I know everyone wants to interact with him. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, I'll remain anonymous.
Anonymous, make your contributions.
I have only 2 questions for State Council John Sangwa. John Sangwa, na konkan maling ma program yanu yonse wa John Sangwa makamba timuntu anesobera kuri constitution ya Zambia, that person cannot be your friend. So question ya meni nayo, abantu basobera kuri constitution ya Zambia, you are quiet all this while. That's the first question. Second question, wa John Sangwa. Nanga chamene chichitika ku constitution court, chamene sofuna kusainira pali consent judgment ya wa PF ni chani. Ero ngati mwankala wa president ya abantu basobera ku constitution ya Zambia. Chamene muuza mazambia, chamene mzaka chitana abantu once you are elected as a president. Nichani, because you have my support, I want you to become a Zambian president. So, nifuna ma promises yaza chukapaka mwapano kuli bantu basobera constitution ya Zambia. Now a consent judgment, yawa PF yani taking 5 minutes. Kwenda kufa hapo signature ya 10 seconds. Why changala nchini chovuta kwenda kufa hapo signature oti basaine baje judge when you became a president. What are you going to do with this type of judges we have in Zambia? I submit, sir.
Yes, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
I'll remain anonymous, Ambassador. I wanted to ask State Council John Sangwa, because he said that he's articulating the issues very well. We are happy here. But I wanted to find out also from him, since he said he's ready to save the people of Zambia. Like he's given now a chance by the ruling party, that is Akainde Hichilema, invites him to work together. Is he ready to work with the ruling party, like in 2026? Can he join them? Okay, that's my question I wanted to ask, Ambassador. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. Yeah, like I said, let me just take the last 2 calls so that we allow Mr. Sangwa. I know there are so many calls, Mr. Sangwa, so many calls, but time restraint, there's a team that is working on the ground. We have to give them. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, I would prefer to be anonymous.
Yes, anonymous.
Ambassador, thank you for giving me an opportunity and a chance to speak on this program. Yeah, I'm also privileged to say thank you to State Council.
Hold on. Proceed, please proceed.
Yes. Basically, my participation will be one. I would like to ask State Council, as it is, let's be honest and truthful to each other. Zambians right now, we know for sure that the biggest and the prevailing biggest opposition party is PF. PF has never been broken before, and it still remains the biggest opposition party right now. And the members of Patriotic Front, they have been together from the beginning, even after losing the elections. Yes, I am not saying no to the ambitions of State Council to lead, but my question is he also, can he also think of how is he going to look into the injustice that has happened to the Patriotic Front? Of course, he said he is not looking into forming another political party, meaning obviously he's ready to join any political party that can go with what he's able to offer. But I feel any meaning Zambians right now should look at the Patriotic Front because it remains the biggest political party in the opposition right now.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So is he willing, one, to fight for the injustice? Secondly, if is he willing to join the PF? That is my question to
Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good afternoon, or is it good evening, where you are, Ambassador. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Robert. I'm calling from the UK, Manchester. And wow, what a powerful presentation by the State Council. I was paying attention and I kept on writing all the good points. I think one thing that I just wanted to just comment was on the issue of the GDP, when the professor called and he was trying to differ in terms of the data there. GDP, it's very difficult because it depends on where you get your information as well. There's a lot of technical limitations. So the State Council was correct, and I wouldn't say so-and-so was incorrect. So it depends where you get that information. And that's why I think the State Council dealt with that one very clever, but not going in detail. But what I just wanted to say is, thank you for the message of hope for the Zambians. And your consistency in delivering the message, I thought the message was going to change, but you've shown the Zambian that there's a new hope for the second independence. And your message of I've not heard you say I at any point, and you keep on saying we. And this is what we need for the second independence, as they're calling it, the renewal of our country. We need all to move together, and we all need to realize that our country needs resuscitating because of the state where we are. And we want to congratulate you and encourage you. It's going to be rough, it's going to be tough, but we are there for you, and we are willing to push this country to the next level and make sure that we can be independent again. Thank you so much, and may God truly bless you for answering the call. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is our last caller. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, Mr. Mwamba, Ambassador.
Yes, good evening. You are our last caller. Tell us where you are calling us from.
Okay, I'm calling right from, I call me anonymous. I'm calling right from Zambia. All right. Now, let me just thanks to you, Councils Sangwa, for the 10-point plan. It looks very promising, and you floated it on social media. Yes, it's bound to bring so much hope. It brings so much hope, especially to me. Now, have you floated this idea to other leaders? Because this is social media, and for sure we need to come together where you pitch that new tent, where we erect it together and say map the way forward. Have you floated it to other would-be leaders, really, so that you have something up your sleeve? Or, I mean, people like Makebi Zulu, they haven't yet come out. We see people floating them as leaders of some party or in a way, because we need to move forward. It looks like PF cannot really do much with the time that is remaining. I mean, the name PF. We surely should pitch a new tent, like you have suggested, that can be the only way forward. Please, is there any way to look forward for some kind of meeting where we deliberate the way forward. I rest.
State Council, let's begin to wind up. Clearly,
Yes.
yeah. You can
Yeah,
answer
let
the
me just say a
questions, but
few
the issue of PF
Yes.
is preoccupied a lot of people, and they think that this has been an assault on democracy, and you can see the appeals literally on you to help on this matter, and then answer the other question. Then I call you to come and make your last remarks.
Yeah, there are several issues, but what we are experiencing, and this is what one of the issues I raised, that one of the keys to our survival as a country is to strengthen institutions. Okay, that includes the courts. We need to have faith and trust in our judiciary. Okay, right now, that trust is non-existent. And that is why we have all these challenges. Ordinarily, a matter of this nature, the judiciary should have given it a priority. Okay, so that this matter ought to have been given a priority on the top of the judge's calendar so that it is gotten away with and resolved. Okay, so that parties move on. Now, because of the delays, it has not been given priority, then there is always a problem. Now, the other point is this. Somebody asked me what I thought about the executive being involved in the interference with the PF. Ordinarily, that should not happen. An opposition political party is a necessary evil in any democracy. Okay? And when you are president, you need a strong opposition. Okay, to help you, to check on you. You need another voice to be able to push back, because there are always excesses. There's always a temptation to exceed the parameters. That is why you need a strong opposition to be able to push back so that the system works as it is intended. It is rather unfortunate that there are indications that the executive branch of government has a hand in this particular process, which is very bad, and it shouldn't happen. It should never have happened in the first place. So the answer to all these things that we're talking about, it is about strengthening institutions. The institutions should remain strong, irrespective of who is president. And that is very, very important. We need to have faith in our institutions. So the other point raised was, in this particular case, to do with the PF, they already have lawyers, but if I'm asked to be of assistance, I'm available to try and help wherever I can, because I believe that a strong opposition party is important for the functioning of our constitutional order. Our constitution is structured on the assumption that there will be opposition political parties. And I think another caller asked to say, well, what am I doing about all these things when these wrong things are happening? In the past, I think 1 month, we have filed about 3 or 4 petitions before the Constitutional Court. And one of the issues that we have raised is the need to enact a Political Parties Act. Now, the problems in PF are directly linked to the absence of a Political Parties Act. Now, ordinarily, political parties should not be controlled by the Registrar of Societies. That particular piece of legislation was never intended to regulate political parties. Now, as you know, the Registrar is under the Ministry of Home Affairs and ultimately is accountable, responsible to the Minister of Home Affairs. And the Minister of Home Affairs comes from the ruling party. So it is an arrangement that undermines democracy. And that should not be the case. And that's why we filed a petition where we are saying that there should be enactment of a Political Parties Act. Now, there is another point to do with the removal of immunity. The law is very clear. The law is very clear. If there is evidence that a former president got money okay, got money. There is evidence. It is all dependent upon evidence. That evidence must be tabled before the National Assembly. It is not a matter of discretion on the part of whoever is president. It is mandatory. Once there is evidence of wrongdoing on the part of the former president, that evidence must be tabled before the National Assembly. And that process ought and must be actuated if there is evidence. It is not, removal of immunity is not supposed to be used as a tool to settle political scores. That's not what its objective is. It is to make sure that if somebody broke the law or the president profited, say for example, there is evidence that he looted from the public, he stole from the public, it is no brainer. The evidence ought to be presented before the National Assembly, and the National Assembly should be able to lift the immunity. Everything is about evidence. It is about evidence. I went through the process through which President Chiluba was prosecuted for 7 years. Allegations were made before any formal investigations were even made. At the end of the day, a lot of allegations were made which turned out not to be true. So that's not the purpose of removal of immunity. There has to be a genuine case to warrant removal of immunity. And if there is that evidence, the National Assembly should be able to remove the immunity to pave way for the prosecution of the former president. Now, there is this thing about I think somebody asked about the minerals. I mean, it's very simple. The issue is very simple. Government's responsibility, every primary responsibility is to its people. Okay? Now, all what we have to ensure, we have the resources in the country. Those resources have to benefit the Zambian people. Full stop. Okay? There has to be a system where the people, and in any case, it's not even a matter of debate. It is in the Constitution. The people must see the benefits. So the first thing that must be done is to pass the law so that people see the benefits of the wealth that is being generated in their province or district. It is a matter of law. Now, one other thing, if the government does not take responsibility for its people, then who's going to care for its people? Okay? Now, government is elected. Those elected officials are elected by the people so that they can serve their interest. I'm a firm believer that whatever deals are made in relation to the minerals or to the natural resources, it has to be a win-win situation. The foreign investor benefits and the Zambian people benefits. If it's not a win-win situation, then that deal is not worth going into. Okay? So that is the way it's supposed to be. We must also remember that these assets will end at some point. Now, what happens if those resources expire and there is no transformation of those areas? What are you going to do? That is poverty that you're going to create. So it has to be an arrangement such that it benefits the country. Now, corruption is easy. Again, it comes down to strengthening institutions of government. That is what is required. Now, what has happened in the past is that institutions have been weakened. So one of the things that I raise in my 10 questions is that it is our primary obligation to make sure that we strengthen these institutions. That is very important. And that is why I keep hammering on the Constitution. Let's respect the Constitution. Let's respect the Constitution. And no foreign investor will ever trust a government that does not respect its own constitution. You have a problem there. And the Constitution is the foundation of who we are. It is the foundation of our republic. Now, somebody else raised the issue about Yeah, I think I've answered that. A declaration of asset is very simple. This issue was there during the time of Kaunda. They had something called the leadership code. It did not just require you as a public official to declare your assets. It also required your wife and children to be able to declare. If you give property to your children, you needed to declare that. So we already have an experience of that. All what we need to do is to be able to dust up that and improve, update that particular system that is already there. It should be mandatory. Even if, let's say, there was no robust legal system, all leaders should, on their own, be able to declare their own assets, because the positions they occupy, it is a position of trust. And that trust begins by being transparent. Okay? So those are things that needs to be done. On the consent order, I've already addressed that. There are a lot of dynamics going on, but if my help is required, I'll be there to help. Somebody asked me, will I work with the current president? The answer is no, I wouldn't. Okay? I wouldn't, because it's very simple. We have differences in terms of values and principles, and therefore I'm looking to join hands with people that I share values and principles with. For that reason, I wouldn't. Okay, and the other point, of course, to note is political funding, political party funding. Ambassador, allow me to say this. The 10 points which I raised are very important. Allow me to explain this last point. Ambassador, I would like to be part of the process where Zambians fund that process. If funds are required for political campaigns, I would like to see a situation where Zambians put in money. Just to give you an example, now, the moment Zambians don't put in money, they don't own the outcome. Now, if I'm funded by foreign or by other people, right, my primary obligation will be to the people that funded me. And as the saying goes, he who pays the piper calls the tune. Now, it is important for Zambians, if it is part of the process whereby Zambians are not able to fund this, it is very unlikely that I'll be part of that process. And the reason is very simple. It's very simple. Right now, for example, I think you and I were talking about this thing. There are people that have approached me to say, oh, we are willing to fund and so forth. I have refused that funding. I've refused. But what I do expect is that the ordinary Zambians should be able to fund this particular exercise. And it's very simple. For instance, if one is expected to win an election, let's take a ballpark number to say ECZ is going to register, there will be, say, 10,000 voters, 10 million voters. And if we have an election turnout of, say, 70%, which means that there will be 7 million voters. And if you have to win the presidency, it means you should be able to receive about 3.5 million votes minimum. Ambassador, to raise money for the campaign, I should be able, at the minimum, to convince even 1 million Zambians to be able to contribute at least even 100 kwacha. If I can get 100, we can get 100 kwacha from 1 million Zambians. That is already 100 million kwacha. 100 million kwacha at today's exchange rate, that is $4 million. Now, I do believe if we cannot convince 1 million Zambian to donate 100 kwacha a month, or even for over a period of 2 to 3 months, then what it means that the entire experiment is not viable. And it is important for Zambians to fund this. Because when they do, They own that property.
I like your unique approach. Everyone is looking for one big funder, one big donor from abroad, from
they will
the
own
minds,
you.
from the business community. You are saying Zambians must fund it. That's revolutionary in itself.
Ambassador, 100 kwacha a month. If I can convince Zambians to donate 100 kwacha a month, then the entire process is a non-starter. Now, the reason for that is to be able to get Zambians to begin to believe in themselves that we can do this. Okay? We have this mentality where we think only foreign money can develop this country. We have to start by funding our own election. Okay? And I will also put my 100 kwacha there. Not more than that. If I told the limit is 100 kwacha, I will also put my 100 kwacha there, because we have a shared interest in the process, okay? And we have to make equal investment. Now, the danger of getting money from unknown sources is that they'll capture you before you even start. And when you get into office, you'll be working for them as opposed to working for the Zambian people. So Zambians have a choice to make. Okay, do they want to control their own destiny or not? There is no way you can control a government that you did not fund. So to succeed in that, we need to change the way we fund our political experiment. That is the way we have to look at these issues. We can't continue doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. We have to try something new. That is what I'm advocating for, and that is what I like to see.
I like the proposal on funding,
Yes,
this proposal of
and I'm looking forward to receiving your 100
I'd like to
kwacha.
invite you to make your last remarks. And as you make your last remarks, do you have an office? Have you set up a center? Where can people reach you? Because you have these questions you've thrown to them, and they're asking, how can we answer this question? Someone said, is it just on social media? Is there an office they can come to, or those matters will come later? So give me your last remarks, and please answer where they can find you. Thank you.
Ambassador, I've just thrown this challenge to the Zambians. Okay, depending upon the response, then the necessary infrastructure will be put in place. Okay, right now, obviously, we're able to access whatever information and feedback that is coming out on social media, and as we go ahead, we'll be able to set up the necessary infrastructure that is required. Like I said, you can't set up a tent unless you know it's coming into the tent. The same thing with these offices, unless you know for sure or for certain that something is going to materialize, then it becomes pointless. Now, my final comments are these, Ambassador. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I just want to say that I'm a firm believer in the Constitution. That is my commitment. I have lost friends over that, and I do not apologize for that. I get to sleep comfortably on that, because I do believe that once we destroy the Constitution, we destroy ourselves. There is nothing that will be predictable in the absence of a strong Constitution. Somebody asked me, if I may just answer this particular question, what is it that I'm likely to do, given that rare privilege to be of service to this country? The first thing, the first order of business is simply to respect the Constitution. That is, it begins and ends there, to respect the Constitution and not to interfere in the functions of the other institutions. Allow other institutions to operate as they ought to be. One, to ensure that the executive branch is fully aware of its boundaries, not to exceed those boundaries. The Parliament or the National Assembly also remains within its boundaries. The judiciary also remains within its boundaries, so that there is no interference. We have to respect the letter and spirit of the Constitution. Now, let me end by saying that I don't claim to have all the answers, okay? But I do believe collectively, together as Zambians, we can transform this country. Okay, that responsibility is not that of one man, it is our collective. In fact, our working together to transform this country is not a favor to this country. It is our duty as citizens. Each and every one of us should be able to roll our sleeves and be of service to this country. We have a choice. Okay, either we continue on the same train, on the same path, stop pretending that we are transforming this country when we are not, or embark on a serious transformation of Zambia, and that will require sacrifice, and those sacrifices have to be shared. Once sacrifices are shared, the burden is lighter, and we can achieve so much together than if one was to do it alone. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. John Sangwa, ready to serve. You heard his thoughts, you heard his articulation on the matters, and you heard his point of view, and he's calling on you to serve with him. It's about service and sacrifice for our country. Mr. Sangwa, I would like to thank you, and great opportunity that you gave this platform an opportunity to come and air your views. God bless you. God bless you in your endeavors, and we wish you well and goodwill, and we can only hope that Zambians will buy into your idea. To our dear viewers, the phones are still ringing. I'm so sorry that we could only take a number of calls, but you still can go there on whatever thread and make your contributions. We have other guests lined up in the week. We have Dr. Griff Chelwa. He returns on Sunday, and we are reviewing the national budget and the way forward. This is the UPND's last budget. Is there anything that can change? Dr. Griff Chelwa, a renowned economist and a professor who's serving the United Arab Emirates, returns on Sunday. For the other leaders that we invite, we'll let you know. Today, we were featuring renowned lawyer and constitutional lawyer, John Sangwa. And his 10 questions to you, the viewers. Will you join him, and will you answer those questions? He has answered the call to save. Will you answer that call to join him and save? God bless you, and shalom, shalom.
Anglo holds 85% stake in De Beers, and Botswana, the government of the Republic of Botswana, holds 15%. We are resolute now, and we've communicated a firm intention to increase our stake in De Beers to a controlling stake that is upwards of 50%.
Would you go higher than that? Would you consider taking it over?
Yes, we'll go higher.
Why?
But because we want to have effective control of the industry. We want our voice to be heard. It's a matter of economic sovereignty for Botswana. It is absolutely imperative for Botswana at this point, particularly, to take a more active role and increase its stake.
Where do you get the funds from, though?
We have lined up a number of potential collaborators with us, if I may put it that way. We have targeted funders. We have parties. We have the Oman Sovereign Wealth Fund. We have others who are willing and ready to come on board with us. So we are more than ready with the transaction, and we've said the transaction must be concluded by end of October.
Pamitapendwa ya vintu ifisume vyota kula kuivukisha Kanate pochimo Wimbo wa temenu wa katongi Awazunga wajita katongi Nakula kuivukisha kateka Kaibuku muna kapona Nese koshove pamenso Yangu ama umebaya Kiyaba Kiyaba ume Kukonke milimo shove Iseko wengi mwakwete, isaso wengi mwakwete, mwaya, mwaya, mwende wino tata wesu. Katusi muchi wakege, oh oh, wali bomba kale, lomba mwatuja tuleli lake. Mupanga chiba, ukula bebyo wathi dobwingi ibisebo wapangile obwingi ukuchinja lusako kumoneko busaka mama kuti tuwala basiyani chakwa katushe.